Go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to.
Oh, you haven't forgotten already where you are.
I'll start again. That's so
No,
funny.
we're keeping that one. Let's just start. Come on.
That is so funny. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast with Ed 001 and Ed's 666. During the humdrum of the international break, we're going to discuss VAR, which is causing some almighty confusion for fans, pundits, and match officials alike. And we're also going to talk about Michael Owen's new book, How to Make Friends and Influence People on Tyneside. Actually, that's not the title of the book. The real title is called Reboot. How are you, Buttercup?
Well, at least my memory's intact and I can remember it's a podcast we're doing. So
I'm
I'm all
telling
right.
you. I
Bless you.
tell you every week it's Alzheimer's, but you don't seem to hear me.
I forget,
Uh,
that's why.
old is gold. Old ones are always the best. All right, mate. I suppose we kick off with VAR. What is going on, Tristan?
It's just a bit of a mess. I mean, all it seems to be doing is set up deliberately to back the referees and prove that they were right in the first place, even though they clearly weren't. I mean,
Mate,
it's a
okay,
shambles.
so you're right, mate. A really good way of describing it. This is what it's meant to do, right? It's meant to be for subjective decisions. Either the referee informs the VAR that a decision should be reviewed, or the VAR identifies a clear and obvious error in one of the four match-changing situations and communicates this to the referee. At the
Right.
next stoppage of the match, the referee will hold up the restart of play until a decision has been reached. The referee explains their decision to the VAR and what they have seen from the pitch. The VAR reviews the broadcast footage using as many angles as possible. Real-time replays will be used initially to check for intensity. Slow motion replays will be used to identify the point of contact. If the VAR does not agree with what the referee believes they have seen, then they can recommend an overturn. I didn't just come up with that. I actually read that from a piece of paper.
Well, I'm just surprised you can read, but there you go.
Okay. What instance does the VAR check? VAR will be used only for clear and obvious errors or serious missed incidents in four match changing situations: goals, penalty decisions, direct red card incidents, and mistaken identity.
Right, but how do you know what's a clear and obvious error? I mean, what's the decision on that? What's the definition of a clear and obvious error? Surely any error that they can spot is clear and obvious, or they wouldn't
I
see it.
Okay.
It's either
We've
an
got
error
some.
or it isn't, basically, is what I'm saying. Surely they can't. What's clear and obvious? So what's.
It seems to me, right, if we just take the nuts and bolts out on this, it seems to me that they've introduced this with haste, pressure, and that it isn't been researched enough, physically actually researched enough, and actually in
Test
play.
it, you mean?
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
How would they test it? I mean,
Well,
where would they test it? How would they test it? In other leagues or?
well, you test it without actually, when you test it in play, but without the feed going to the referee, going to say have a fifth official sat on the sidelines watching it. You know what I mean? As well
Go
as the
on.
fourth, you'd have a fifth guy there whose job basically is, to receive the feed from them in the studio. Who'd say to them, "We think this should be overruled," and he would obviously need a screen to have a look and check the decisions back against what he's seen in play and that, like
Right.
something like that.
Well,
Or they could test it at a lower level. I mean, you test it at a lower level usually when you've got
that's
something new.
exactly. Yeah, I would. I'd be. I'd definitely endorse that. Do it in the championship and the lower leagues. iron out all the gremlins and then bring it up top to the top tier of football because
or the youth system, even better, the youth games, the reserve games, less pressure. It's not going to affect, it's not as important the result in a reserve match. I mean, it does matter to the players, but it's not vitally important to anybody or anything, is it?
Now, you were saying that what qualifies as a clear and obvious error, yeah?
Mm.
What do you mean by that? I know that sounds like a silly question. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's my point, is what do they mean? Because it doesn't make any sense. Because surely if it's an error, it's either an error or it isn't an error.
Yeah.
How can it be?
Right.
What makes a clear and obvious error any different from an error, if you see what I mean? Because if it's clear and obvious he's made an error, then why didn't he spot it himself, the referee? It can't be that clear and obvious, or he wouldn't have made the error in the first place, is what I'm saying is.
It's very oxymoronic kind of thing,
Yeah.
what you're saying,
I mean, okay, we know there's things like giving 3 yellow cards by mistake, things like that, and not sending off, a second yellow, things like that could become.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, nothing's really clear and obvious, or the referee would spot it at the time. If they haven't spotted an offside in the build-up to the play, it's because it's not clear and obvious. And how often is an offside clear and obvious? Or a foul in the build-up he hasn't given, which we never see ruling out a goal, even though we were told that was supposed to be one of the key factors in this, is that if a foul in the build-up happened to the team that were attacking, got away with a foul in the build-up and then scored a goal, we were told that would mean their goal would be ruled out. I've seen multiple incidences of that. I mean, even on the first weekend, there was at least one in the Man City game.
Right. Was it that Sterling goal?
I think it was, yeah. I think it was the first goal, wasn't it? The opening the scoring.
Yeah.
And they clearly fouled one of the opposition players who, I've forgotten who they were playing now. They clearly fouled him. I mean, it was blatant. It wasn't like it was just something you couldn't not notice. But obviously, when it's Man City, and they don't seem to notice them, do they? So,
was it Brighton?
I think Brighton was what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say that because.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was Brighton. But I mean, they thrashed them anyway. But they might not have done if that goal had been ruled out, because that was the first one that opens the floodgates.
Of course,
so it changes things. And I know people are going to say, but they suffered later against Spurs with one ruled out. But, that was correctly ruled out, so I don't see the issue. It's not the same thing at all.
No, they're not comparing apples with apples there.
Yeah.
What's your chagrin with it as it stands? As VAR as it is now, what's your beef with it?
Well, it should be used in all incidents or not. Yeah, you should either use it in all incidences of mistakes, whether they're clear and obvious or not. Forget, just get rid of that, because it makes no sense. It's such a subjective wording. I mean, how do you decide what's clear and obvious? I mean, is that why none of them, none of these things are happening? It's because that assault by Tielemans. I mean, that one, the one I'm talking about in the Leicester game. The previous last game, last weekend they played Premier League.
Right.
Tielemans was clearly just went in and to hurt somebody. I can't remember who they were playing now. This shows how good our research is. We've forgotten to write these things down. Yeah, anyway, he assaulted wasn't it a Villa player? I can't remember.
It might have been.
I can't remember now anyway. But the point is, the foul was a yellow card from the referee. And why was that not overruled by VAR? Where were they? I mean, there was the Jack Grealish one.
Because that's just...
He gets pushed into an outstretched leg. So by an opposition player, Jack Grealish gets pushed into an outstretched leg. So he gets fouled first by a push into an outstretched leg, which is another foul because the leg then trips him up. And he gets given a yellow card for diving. Now, where's VAR on that? Especially as, just a bit late, it was ended up that they scored, Villa scored just after that, and that goal was ruled out because the referee had already stopped it for the free kick because he said and booked Jack Grealish for diving. I mean, where's VAR on that?
No. I think it was they were playing Bournemouth. I'm pretty sure Leicester v Bournemouth, and the Grealish one was against in the
Oh yeah,
last.
no, they're different games. Yeah, it was in the dying
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah,
It
yeah.
wouldn't have
Sorry, yeah.
changed it wouldn't have changed the actual result, but it
Result.
would have
Yeah,
changed the
yeah.
score. And it's a different, it's a different feeling, isn't it, for them going into the next game when it's 2-1 than when they've
Yeah.
lost 2-0.
So why didn't VAR adjudicate on the Tillman's lunge against Bournemouth?
Because the VAR decided, according to the PGMOL, that the referee was correct. Which is why Tielemans hasn't been had up before. We've not heard anything of him being done either.
What,
He should have been,
retrospectively?
he should have been taken action for a violent conduct because it was clearly violent
Right.
conduct. He
So
assaulted him.
so the referee thought it was worthy only of a yellow.
Yep.
VAR agreed with that
Yep.
decision. They replayed
Well, they said
it.
he did. They said they did.
Right.
Let's be honest.
So
we don't know because we don't hear the feed. This is the problem.
Right.
We don't
Right.
hear whether they're saying, all we know is the PGMOL afterwards are saying, no, he agreed with the referee.
And is that you think that the PGMOL don't want to court any more publicity, bad publicity around VAR, so they're going to maybe agree with some of the referee's decisions, so they don't have any.
I don't think it's about VAR. This is about not upsetting referees because they're using, a lot of the VAR are having to pull up junior officials, from the championship and that. And then you've got
Right.
senior officials running around on the pitch being told by a junior official that you're wrong, mate. Now that has upset that has already upset a few of them. So I think they're just using VAR to say, no, you're right, mate. No. Rather than actually using it as intended. They're just using it to back up the referees.
Let's rewind a little bit. What you're saying, what I'm hearing is that the VAR junior officials that are adjudicating have upset the senior match officials in the game by saying, by overruling them. So they put their nose out of joint a little bit by saying, I'm more senior than you. Gotcha.
That happened in the early week. You know what I mean? When they first tested it.
So what I'm getting out of that is these match officials are a little bit sensitive. And number two, we need to be training up more officials so they can actually have a informed opinion about decisions.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about it. I think they should be totally different officials because this is a different skill.
Yeah.
Get somebody else in who's got nothing to do with it. Well, they need to be trained in understanding the rules of the game. They need to know the laws of the game. That's fair. So they do need some basic referee training, but of a different kind because they don't need to be fit. So why not get the old ones, the retired ones in there and teach them how to use the equipment? Because the reason why the likes, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jeff Winter was a crap referee. He was, but he was far, and all these others that have been farmed out of the game because they're too old. Well, are they too old to fiddle with a joystick, or watch a TV screen? I don't think so. You could have somebody else. Yeah. You could just get somebody else in to show them, to sort out the clips for them to watch.
Right. Yeah. Now, I see that there's great. I see the sense in that. There is great sense in that idea. But also, what I wanted to ask you was, we have this word bandied about consistency around football all the time, and they want referees to be consistent. But it seems to me the VAR isn't consistent either.
No.
Because let me give you an example. The Man City goal against Spurs in the last minute when Jesus scored, and they went he went apoplectic with rage at the referee, maybe for good reason, whatever. But
no, because it was legitimately ruled out because it was a correct decision by the officials at the end of the day. They were right in what they did.
Yeah. But then I remember Newcastle scored a goal. I think Newcastle scored a goal. They handballed it in the and they got a draw out of it, and against Norwich, I think it was. And it stood. The goal stood. So there's no consistency.
I was just thinking back about do you think that these junior officials, perhaps it's not that they're being told to just back up the head officials, you know what I mean, they're senior officials. Is it more they're scared to disagree with them because they don't want to upset them? Because, you know, these senior officials are the ones that are reviewing their performance later on.
And recruiting them, yeah. No,
And,
you're right.
and checking them, and watching them and giving them, when they're sat in the stands, right, rating their scores to see whether they go up to the next level. So the last thing they want to do is upset the senior officials.
Because they see it as insubordination.
Yeah, and they're not going to be recommended to step up to the next level if they're constantly saying, you're wrong there. Are they? I mean, if you're Martin Atkinson, say, and you've got some guy from the Championship who's constantly saying to you, you got that one wrong. Yeah, you might have got it wrong, but you're still not going to recommend him next week. If if they say to you, who do you think should get promoted this? Well, you're not going to recommend him, are you? You're not going to give him a high score because you're going to be thinking little.
Yeah, it's human nature, really, isn't it? Yeah, but okay, who's in this VAR studio box or whatever it is?
Referees. Then they're supposed to be Premier League referees, qualified referees. But we don't have enough for a full match day, when they're all in. So what you end up with, the ones, say it's a Saturday and you've got games on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday night. They've got enough then. If they're spread out over 4 days, they've got enough officials. And what they do is they'll have the ones that are on the pitch on the Saturday will be in the VAR box on the Sunday. Watching a different game on the Sunday. But when they've only got a Saturday and Sunday programme, they haven't got enough. So what they then do is they have to call up, say, 2 or 3 from the Championship to fill in the studio because they're all out at the matches.
Okay, I want you to paint me a picture, right? So
do you?
There's an incident.
Hang on, let me get a paintbrush.
Right, so there's an incident on the pitch. The referee indicates VAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, who is in that VAR studio? Is it techies, like who's replaying the incident? The referee does it, or what happens?
There's a group. From what I'm understanding, I need to check this properly to be sure that I'm 100%. But from what I'm told and from what I've read, it's a group of techies who find it, who pick out the footage, get it ready quickly, and a referee who's actually in control of it all, who watches it and makes the final decision to send back to him. There's
one referee who makes that decision. There's not
for each game,
2 or 3
for each game.
For each game, so
Just
person
one,
has
no,
that.
it's one final. It's one referee in charge of it.
So Liverpool are playing Manchester City. It's the 90th minute. There's a contentious penalty decision or a shove in the box or something. It goes to VAR. And you're saying is like one junior referee is making that decision, or will be a senior referee?
Oh, well, if it's a game like that, they'll make sure to have a senior official in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's like it's the ones that suffer are the ones like Norwich and Crystal Palace and that, and Watford, who are already suffering anyway because the PGMOL keep giving them a referee who hates them, a Luton Town fan. So, they're not exactly getting the decision, the rub of the green anyway. So no wonder they're bottom of the league.
Well, they're suffering anyway. They got Chico Flores back as the manager, so so they're getting a double whammy.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly exciting football under him, was it?
Yeah, well, they're suffering. It's a double whammy. Yeah. So, all right. So I'm a genie in a bottle. You've rubbed the bottle. And ask me.
I'm not rubbing you down, mate. No matter how you tear me, I'm not doing that.
All right, so I'm your genie in the bottle, and I've come out the bottle, and I've wished you your wish to be the head of the English FA. What would you change about VAR?
Well, first off, like I said, I'd set up a training program for the older refs and bring them back into it, the retired ones.
And they would be the. They would be the match officials on any given day.
Yeah, because you don't need 20 of them. You don't need to keep bringing in, rotating the match officials from a day at all. I don't even understand the point in this, bringing in the match officials What's
Right.
that all about? I mean, why does it need to be match officials? It's watching a video screen. They don't need to be match official, you know what I mean? They don't need to be match fit or anything. I mean, they make them wear the frigging referee's kit, for God's sake. How embarrassing is that?
No way.
Yeah, they're full kit wankers in the
Oh,
kit.
but no, you're
No,
lying.
honestly,
You're
no,
lying.
honestly, it's in
You're
the rules.
lying.
It's in
You
there
are
stipulated. They have to wear their full uniform.
You are lying.
So they're there in their
You are
black
lying.
cosy. Honestly, well, not black
full
nowadays, is it? Yeah, full kit wankers,
Full
mate.
kit.
Honestly, proper.
In a studio.
Yeah, they're not even anywhere near a
Oh,
pitch.
Oh, you're still lying, mate. I can't
No,
accept
honestly,
that.
that's
There's
true. Check it. Look it up. That is true. 100% true.
No chinos and shoes or
No,
nothing.
nothing like that. They have to wear their
Oh my
refereeing
God.
gear. So they're in their, well, whatever colour it is, black, green, yellow, whatever colour it is, purple. Because they change it like, I don't know why they keep changing it. I mean, what's the point in that? They're not, surely nobody buys them, do they?
That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, it's embarrassing. I don't know if any other
All right.
country does that. I just know that in the English Premier League, they do that.
So let's change that rule for starters. Let them wear anything they want in the studio.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. It's just embarrassing for them. I mean, it must be embarrassing for them to go all John Terry in there.
All right, number 2, train up non-footballing people, really, because you could just teach.
First off, you bring back the old referees that have retired, because they can sit and
Right.
look at a screen, all right. They're not actually picking out, they don't have to pick out the incidents themselves. They're just being shown them.
Right.
So what's wrong with
What
bringing?
else would you change?
Obviously you'd start a training program for new ones, specifically not for referees, just for officials to work the VAR. To work, not just to work the VAR itself, but to actually look at the results. They need. It's a separate skill. It is really, because you're looking at a screen and you've got to know from TV screen and differentiate it from how it is on the pitch, because it looks different when you're out there live to what you're seeing on the screen. So they're not really, they're not getting an advantage by being ones that are actually match officials.
Yeah, because you're right. There's some brilliant minds out there who are very competent people who could learn how to referee.
Well,
on
they
a
only need
course
the
without...
regulations, ex-players. Why not use
Exactly,
ex-players?
yeah.
There's loads of them out there that that have retired and haven't got a role in the game. Bring them in. Things like that. I mean, what's the issue? They only need to know. I mean, a player should know by looking at how another player acts whether he's gone in to break someone's leg or if he's just gone in a bit late and caught him. A player will know that better.
Idea.
A player will know that better than the referee.
That's a fabulous idea, bringing ex-professionals, just for that reason. Because he knows if he's tugging him, he knows if he's gone to give him a leg breaker. You're right, I can wholeheartedly know that's a great idea. That's a brilliant idea, Tristan.
And obviously the third one would be the review screens, but I think they're changing that, aren't they, already? We don't know. I haven't read they've changed it yet, but they were going to have a meeting about changing it during this international break. I'm still waiting to find out if they did. Did they? Did you hear?
I don't know, mate. I think it'll take probably like 13, 14 years for us to implement that. Yeah,
because it's the only it's the only country in the world definitely that doesn't have a review monitor for the referee. Because this is the thing: these guys in the studio, they shouldn't be telling a referee they were wrong. They should be saying, "We think you might have got it wrong. You need to have a look at it yourself." That's what it should be about. Because otherwise, you're taking it away from the matchday official. You're making a decision. You're making a decision from a studio rather than on the match day. At the pitch side. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. Now, do you think there will ever be a case that they'll just it's much ado about nothing? It's too much hassle. Let's just get away with it, or do you think get rid of it?
No, they'll
too
keep
much
it.
time, money, and effort has been invested in it.
No, they've decided it's going to be in for good, and it will be. They'll just need to improve it rather than. I mean, I'm not. Do you know? I would have just prefer. I would prefer to see them use it for some of the other things as well, like who got the last touch on a throw in. I mean, some of those things they could tell immediately, and there's so many bad decisions. I mean, I watched one game of ours, Liverpool, and there must have been 7 or 8 calls in a row where the referee gave the ball, gave a goal kick when it should have been a corner, or a corner when it should have been a goal kick, and a throw into the wrong way. And you could clearly see it taking every player even was reacting the same, was moving the wrong way because the referee suddenly gave the decision the opposite way, and they're like, hang on, everyone's just like so confused by it. Things like that they could easily do. Also, whether it crosses the goal line, when they're having to rely on a linesman.
Right? Yeah.
No, I mean, when it's the linesman on the other side, got to see whether it crosses the goal line for a corner or not.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought you meant a goal.
No.
Right,
but why can't they do that with a goal line and a throw-in line to see whether it goes out or not? Why do we need, why can't we have that as well? I mean, if you're going to use technology, things like that is simple to do. They've already done it with a goal line.
Yeah, and I don't think it will take that much effort, really, will it? And time, actually, to do something like that.
No, and it makes more sense because it's silly to have this argument. No, it hasn't. Has it all crossed the line? No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. No, it hasn't every time. I mean, by now, it's 2019. They should know by now whether it's crossed the line or not.
Well, in their defence, it is the first season. I'm sure in the summer they'll review it and there'll be a lot more implementation and it will be modified.
Well, they've already modified one thing, haven't they? The offside thing. Do you remember? Because in the first the first weekend they were given offside. Remember Man City game? They ruled out one goal for offside because they said Sterling was offside. But then a second goal, they didn't rule offside, even though that was more offside than the first one.
The first one,
and you're thinking, hang on. And what they've realised is because it can't be that accurate. It's impossible because the cameras are not dead in line with every incident. So there's a variance of how far out it can be. So they've stopped giving it for minuscule amounts like that. Thankfully, they did that. So that's one thing that's come in.
So let me ask you about this, the handball rule. Are you for or against this handball rule, even if it's inadvertent and accidental?
You mean the rule? As in, not the VAR decision to penalise it, you mean?
I mean the actual rule, the regulation.
As long as everyone knows what it is, I don't see a problem with it. I can see the sense in it if an attacker handballs it. I've heard people saying, but everyone's just going to try and kick it against his hand, to have to go.
Yeah.
But why would, if it's in the attack, in the opposing third, you're in their penalty box with the ball, why are you going to kick it against one of your teammates' hand to get it rolled out? I don't understand what they're talking about. I mean, you're not. You're going to try and score. They say, and the other one's saying, well, if it's a defender, you're going to kick it against his hand to get a penalty. Well, no, because if it's an accidental handball, it isn't given if it's a defender. What's the thing? People don't seem to understand that. It's not the same rules. It's if it's an attacker, it automatically causes a free kick.
Yeah. So you're good with that rule?
Well, as long as it's, at least it simplifies things a bit. You know where you stand. If it accidentally hits a hand and then goes in the back of the net and it's an attacker's hand, it's ruled out. So it's not perfect, but no, it's impossible to be perfect with a rule like that, isn't it?
True. I mean, look at the Jesus goal. You had no Spurs defender or the goalkeeper react.
You did, but only after it wasn't given when they were all going, what? What? They were just laughing. They thought it was hilarious. Loris's face was a picture. It was brilliant.
Exactly, but this is what I'm saying. There's all these kind of little anomalies kind of thing that just... I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with that rule, to be honest with you.
Well, as long as they stick by it, and if they're going to use VAR for it once like they did there, they have to use it all through the season. You can't... See, this is the problem with the changing the offside rule, where it's only going to be for big amounts, not minuscule amounts. That's already altered the season. Because in the first set of games, You can't do that. This is what they've done wrong. This is why they should have tested it more, because they should have found these things out and they should have been sorted out before the season. But once the season starts, if you set up with one set of rules, you've got to finish the season like it. Otherwise, it alters the whole balance of the season. I know it's only a tiny amount, but it could make a difference between, if City lose the league on goal difference, they've got a right to cry. If it's by one goal, say, or one goal scored even could cost them the league. Say everything else is equal, but they've scored one goal less. At the end of the season, they've got a right to say we were robbed. Because we'd scored the goal, and it was ruled out, and it was wrongly ruled out because you changed the rules after the game.
Yeah, but then you get this adage of everything evens itself out over the course of the season.
That's just utter bollocks. It really doesn't. And everyone knows it doesn't, but what can you do? That's the thing. But normally, at least you know that, even if it doesn't actually even itself out, at least you know you're playing under the same set of rules usually all the way through the season. This season, they've already altered them slightly. And I know it's only a slight rejig of it, but still they should have just said, no, we're going to have to stick with it. We've started the season like it. Next season, though, we're going to do this.
But isn't it for the greater good? Because if it causes a little bit of damage, if it's made to cause as little, they made the rule, they changed the rule, should I say, mid-season. So it's for the greater good, no? Because it will cause more damage if it stays the way it is. Isn't that a good thing?
Well, no, because everybody knew. No, because everybody knew what it was. They've already seen what it is. You know what it is, and you're playing under the same rules for the entire season. Like I said, if City lose lose the title by one goal, they're the only ones that have suffered because of it. So why should only they suffer? I mean, I'm not a City fan by any means, and I'm quite happy for them to lose the league. But I don't want them to lose it because they've been robbed, because the rules have changed. I want them to lose it because they've been beaten by a better side,
I hear what you're saying, but I'm in the other camp where if it's for the greater good, let's change it. It's bad.
It's not greater good if it's unbalanced the league. If it's given one team an unfair disadvantage.
Right. Anything else you'd implement?
We've said the screen, haven't we? I'm trying to think.
That's got a bit. That is 100% has to happen. I mean, it's a folly if it doesn't. It really is.
And I don't understand why it hasn't.
I really don't know myself. I think it was. I think you said a couple of podcasts ago that we were the only ones that haven't implemented that in Europe.
I checked that up, and it's the only one in the world that uses VAR that doesn't have screens at the side of the pitch.
Jesus Christ! I'm shocked you did some research.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, is that true? Really, I didn't know that.
I know it is a shock. Bad to check it.
Mate, I'm still cracking. I'm just still pissing my pants at the fact that the referees have to wear full kit in their VAR room.
I know. Do you imagine it? Just how embarrassing that going into the shit. Oh.
Can you imagine? He's saying to his wife, saying to him, "Oh, where are you refereeing today? Anfield, Old Trafford, Emirates Stadium." No, in a little room in
a little TV studio in. I've forgotten where it is now. Oh God,
where is it? Burton Abbey or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I had that written down and I've lost it. Alex, where was that? Damn it! I've lost a bit of paper now. I've dropped a bit of paper and I can't see it with that written down. That was the only thing I'd written down ready for this, and I can't find a bit of paper with it on.
No, we've got to do that. Let's Google that. A VAR studio, right? VAR studio.
Well, this is exciting podcast listening.
Oh my God.
I bet they're loving this. They'll be loving this when they hear it.
I've got VAR gallery and studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
No.
I've actually got an art gallery. VAR.
Oh,
football. We're all right. Let's have a look
Oh,
at this.
God bless you.
You do it.
Uh,
Where is the VAR? Where is?
hang on.
Go and find your piece of paper. It'll be quicker.
Oh, it probably would be.
Okay, let's have a look.
I know what I forgot.
Stockley
Premier
Park.
League.
That's it. Stockley Park,
Yes.
near Heathrow. For
I knew it
anybody
was
who
in
wants
London.
to know.
Of course, it'd be in London.
Of course it would. Why would it be anywhere else? You get fibre optic internet in London.
Not sure about that. I was just thinking, why would it be anywhere else? Because they wouldn't put money in another part of the country, would they?
Listen, don't get all like socialist. Don't get all socialist on me.
Just saying, they put everything there instead of putting the national stadium should have been in the centre of the country. But no, we'll stick it in London where only Londoners can get to it. No, that'll make sense.
Let's not turn this into a political debate, mate.
Just saying.
All right, pal. All right. Anything else to add on VAR?
No, because I've lost the bill of paper. All my notes are. Only thing I've ever I wrote down when we were talking and you said to us about it, and I sent you the message.
Yeah.
I sent you the message on WhatsApp to say these things. I wrote down.
Right.
I wrote them all down with a few notes about what I wanted to talk about. I've no idea where I put it. So many.
The professionality is oozing.
I've got so many notes, half done research on legends of the game and all them kind of things, and tennis players and stuff. It's all got mixed up. So that's what happens when you see. That's what happens when you tidy up. I never tidy up. And this time I have. I've probably thrown it away. Actually, I was tidying up.
We could talk about the Khabib fight before we do the Michael Owen bit.
Wasn't really much of a fight, was it? It was more of a beating than a fight. It was a bit like a school bully picking on the weak kid at school, wasn't it?
Mate, he could have. I think he could have beaten him with just one arm and one leg. He could have put that chokehold on with just one leg.
Yeah, I've got to admit it was disappointing to see because I thought it might at least be a bit of a fight, but no. If Conor McGregor's watching, he must be thinking, damn, he's got better since he fought me. I'm staying well clear.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what. I honestly, people think Ferguson will give him a good fight. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I'm really not sure. I love Ferguson. I think he's so far out and crazy and all that good stuff in a nice way. But he's got a lot of talent to go with it. I don't think he's going to beat him. I really don't think he will.
Khabib's a different level. It's just, boys against a man, basically, isn't it?
You know what I'd really like him to do? I'd like him to take the Ferguson fight, take the rematch against McGregor and retire with 30-0. I think that would be a beautiful legacy.
Only if he hits McGregor properly this time.
I think he really damaged him last time. He more than anything, I think he damaged his reputation. I think that was mental.
I think it's mentally hurt him. That's why he's gone into such a complete dick. He was already bad enough, but I think it's really damaged him because now nobody's scared.
And also, but you've got to understand also, mate. This guy, Khabib, he's got no vices. Like, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do any alcohol, obviously no drugs or whatever. And it's all just, it's part of who he is, and his conditioning is better for it.
Yeah, and the first thing he did after that fight, he'd been doing charity work, hadn't he? Taking time off to do a bit of charity work.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, I think, all right, I can see where people are coming from, that they think he's boring, he's not destructive like, say, Diaz and
you ask
Ferguson
anybody who's fought him if he's destructive.
Exactly.
I've seen him throwing people around for fun. He just doesn't need to because he's that much better. He just smothers them and beats them.
He's a grappler. That's his game, and until you banish that from mixed martial arts, he's always going to win. I just don't think he's beatable. I really don't. I think he can
Nice.
go up a level as well.
Oh yeah, he's far too good for the level he's at.
You know, people say that Poirier got him in that guillotine, right?
Mm.
And they said it was really really close, right? But he still got out of it.
And
Nobody's.
was he close? I mean, I didn't see any
No,
signs of
but
him. He didn't look like he was about to tap at any point. He was just moving it around, so he kept his head, so he kept his breathing clear. I don't think it was really close.
But people are saying, "Oh, he got Khabib in that in that hold," but Khabib got out of it. I mean, without any with this, and straight away he put him into his own. He tapped out. I mean, it's the guys. In my opinion, I think he's indestructible. I really do. I don't think he's beatable.
He's beatable if he has a bad day, basically. But if he's on a good day, you're not going to beat him.
Yeah, the best of Khabib against the best of anybody else, I don't think anybody will beat him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think people are giving good scraps. I think Ferguson will give him a good scrap. I think maybe even Diaz will give him a good scrap. And I think if McGregor comes back switched on, he'll give him a good scrap. But I just don't think he's beatable.
No, I'm not convinced McGregor's even close to being good enough. He's not as good as he thinks he is because he's not training properly. He's not living life right and that.
No, but this is what I mean. If McGregor sorts out his physical situation and he trains hard, etc., I think he'll give him a good scrap.
No, I think it's the mentality. He'll never be the same because he's lost it in the head.
You think so?
That beating he got has killed him as a competitive fighter. He'll never be the same level. That was humiliating.
You know what? I want to see. I really do want to see McGregor knuckle down and come back and show the world. And I think he's remorseful and everything now of what's happened in the past. I just want him to knuckle down, train hard.
Like when he hit the old guy the other day.
No, but I think he's I understand
remorseful.
I get that. No, but what I'm saying is, people screw up, man. I get that. People screw up, right? And he
was screwing
up,
and you know what I mean. He just is a screw up. Just get rid of him.
Man, I just want to see competition for Khabib because at the moment it's just way too easy.
Yeah, but McGregor
it's just way too. I don't know. I think that I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying that McGregor will come back and win the title. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I just want him to come back focused, train hard, and see what he's got left. And because I think there's Khabib, and then there's the best of the rest. There's Ferguson and McGregor, and maybe Diaz, maybe Masvidal.
So our VAR podcast has now turned into a UFC podcast.
And
this is as good as our last one where we were doing a Liverpool podcast, and I don't think we even spoke about Liverpool for the first hour of it.
And what a wonderful way to get to the portion of the podcast.
We're so good at keeping on track, like.
Absolutely.
And our research is top notch. I can't believe I've lost my notes.
With your pencil and your pen. Piece of paper.
Well, I did, yeah, I know. That's when I should have written them on the computer rather than on paper.
Right, my friend,
sorry.
Michael Owen. Apparently, you've heard that he's got a new book coming out.
Apparently so. Yeah, you keep sending me snippets of him arguing with Shearer. So,
mate, I've been loving it. Michael Owen, Liverpool's youngest ever goal scorer, and scored 158 goals in 297 appearances for Liverpool Football Club. He won the Ballon d'Or playing for Liverpool, ran down his contract and went to Real Madrid for $8 million plus Antonio Nunes.
Right. Oh yeah, great signing that Nunes.
After reading the excerpts of his book Reboot in the Daily Mirror, I believe it was. He comes, in my opinion, across as lucid, forthright, and I have to say, I really do respect his transparency. So honestly, so many. I remember
No,
reading. Remember
what
when?
he is, has he just said everything he does is about money?
Pretty much, but
So,
right?
well, then, at least he's honest then, because that's all
Yeah,
he's bothered
no,
about. That's all he's
no,
ever
yeah,
been bothered about. I've known him for a long time, and his whole life has always been about money. Everything.
right. Let me get back to. We'll get to that, mate. I
Oh, I
promise
hate
you.
that I
But
don't get a rap. Sorry.
so many,
I can
so
remember
many
my
people.
uncle giving him grief because they live opposite. He lives opposite him, just across the road from
Right,
him, like in the same village. Like
right,
saying Gary
right,
Speed's family lives there as well, and that there's a few others there. Like, but I remember him when
right,
he was at Liverpool, and he'd be out injured. But apparently, couldn't walk. Couldn't play, like because he'd got such a bad leg. And my
right.
uncle would go out there, catch him wandering around wandering around like, and give him hell. Grief.
Wait, why are you not in
Yeah,
the
weren't you
physio room?
playing?
Yeah, exactly. But going back to the transparency, I mean, I read Graham Souness's book, which is the most wishy-washy, boring book I've ever read in my life, man.
But they're not written
Contained
by
no
them, are
revelation.
they? This is the thing. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
but the
the
input,
ones
the
that
in,
are, have you ever read Dietmar Hamanns is written by him, and it's truly dire because he wrote it. I mean, there's some things
no, but
in
I
there that are
understand you
true, but
get
they're horrible writing.
yeah, no, but yeah, but everybody has ghostwriters. I
Yeah.
get that, right? But the Souness but the input is from the actual
Yeah, but
person to the player.
some of the things you really couldn't talk about.
No, but there's
Well,
nothing in Souness's book that is. I mean, it put you to sleep. At least this book, I mean, from the excerpts I've read, it's frigging dynamite.
yeah,
You
but
know what I
it's
mean? All
just
right,
to sell it, isn't it? That's
of
all.
course
It's
it
like
is,
the
but
Roy Keane ones. It's just about selling
yeah.
it. Doesn't mean it's true.
Well, you can't be putting stuff in writing, and you're open to critics. You're open to
Yeah, you
live.
can.
I mean, being sued.
Mm,
He's not going
well,
to
somebody's
lie
got to
about
prove
stuff.
it. It's somebody's remembering. You've got to prove
Yeah,
that they're
true. Well,
remembering wrong. You've got to prove it, not just not just say it's libelous.
well, he said some harsh things about Alan Shearer. Now,
Yeah, but
Alan Shearer will be.
if you read a lot of it, it's his opinion that he thinks Shearer blamed him for Newcastle
Right.
getting relegated. That's not libelous because it's just him saying it's his opinion that he thinks Shearer. I mean, I don't see that. I've read that. I just don't see that it's that big a deal. I just think Alan Shearer,
Yeah.
he's just making Shearer out to be a bit
Right.
of a dick, and well, he
Yeah.
is. And he's not very well liked by a lot of people. Well, no, he isn't because he run roughshod over the club, Newcastle, when he was
Who?
there.
Who? Owen or Shearer?
Shearer. But that's nothing
He.
nobody knew. Everyone knew anyway that he was the boss when he was there, pretty much. Because that's what went wrong with
It,
Hullet, remember? Because he tried to take him on and dropped
right.
him. Don't you remember? That was what Hullet got sacked for, because he dropped him.
Go on, mate. He dropped Shearer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning with Michael Owen. Child prodigy, broke into the team at 17, blistering pace, and had a knack of scoring a plethora of goals at youth level, senior, and national level, but still isn't adored by Liverpool fans as maybe he should be. Why not, mate?
What do you mean? As maybe he should be? No, he definitely shouldn't be adored. His
Why?
actions ruined it. When he was there, he bullied youth players, caused lots. He was a horrible little scuzzball. I'm trying to think of a polite way. I don't know why I'm bothering because I think I've sworn enough already. But
Yeah,
it
just don't
probably
hold
doesn't
back. There's
matter.
no point.
I've just realised.
Yeah.
I mean, But anyway, yeah. So he used, he'd forced them to play high stakes card games, or they wouldn't get a look in the team, basically. Then you remember
What?
well, they wouldn't get, they had no chance of getting in the first team if they weren't in with Michael Owen. And he'd have them play in these high-stakes card games. Of course, he's on a huge wage. They're
Right.
on 100 quid a week, the YTS lads. But he's got them playing for their weekly wages, basically. He's taken off them each week in card games and stuff.
Wow.
And they were bullies into it. He's a bully. You've got to remember, this is the kid that wouldn't wear a Liverpool kit except when he had to. He'd wear an Everton kit to training every day at Liverpool, even though he turned down Everton to join Liverpool. So you're not that freaking loyal to Everton, are you, you little get? You know, knocking on the head. You're at Liverpool. Show some respect to the club you're with. If you love Everton that much, go and play for them. That's how I looked on it. It's disrespectful to turn up in an Everton kit. It's all right to do it once or twice as a joke, but when you're doing it every single day, that's just disrespectful. Especially when you've turned down Everton to join Liverpool in the first place. And you're not doing it, you know, that's just being a dick at the end of the day, isn't it?
So 1 minute, he comes to training while he's a first team player, and he wears an Everton.
No, when he joined the academy. He spent the entire time. You can't when you're at the first team level. They won't let you. You couldn't wear an Everton kit to training.
But why would you do that? I don't understand.
Well, because he's a dick. He's just being disrespectful, wasn't he?
But why hasn't somebody grabbed him and said? Why hasn't somebody grabbed him and said, "Oi, what are you doing? This is Liverpool. Why are you wearing an Everton?"
Well, at the time it was a bit less. You know, it was a bit less structured than it is now. You know, this is prior Rafa Benitez. You've got to remember in the youth teams and that.
Because I remember Steve Highway moved heaven and earth to get him as well.
Yeah, exactly. He did. He worked out, and that's why he was allowed to get away with pretty much everything, which is why he turned into such a horrible little shit, to be fair. Because he was given far too much freedom. And then you got to remember that when he was in the first team, he wanted to play alongside Emil Heskey only. That was why we signed Heskey, is because he wanted Heskey to play alongside. That was it. He was asked his opinion on transfers. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? Why were you asked Owen? I mean, why would you ask any player? This is what's been going wrong with Liverpool for years. Klopp doesn't ask the players their opinion, as he shouldn't, because he's the manager. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be devolved to play. We had Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher choosing managers at one point. I mean, it's a joke. But anyway, yeah, so you've got Michael Owen. He's there. He wants Emil Heskey. So, you know, we go and buy Emil Heskey for him. Fowler's still there, has injury problems, but you know when he plays, they play well together. But Owen doesn't like playing alongside Fowler, and so he was the one that was constantly badgering Houllier. I don't want to play alongside Fowler. I want to play alongside Heskey.
It was known in football circles they didn't really get on, right?
Who? Fowler and Owen? As far as I'm aware, Fowler thought they got on fine. As far as I'm aware, I didn't think they actually had a personal problem. Owen just didn't want to play alongside him. He wanted to play alongside Heskey because he wanted everything to be about him. And obviously, it's not when Owen Fowler's there because Fowler's God.
Of course, and he's a goal scorer as well. And Heskey was unselfish in that regard because
Heskey made Firmino look selfish.
Right, yeah.
If he had an open goal in front of him, he'd still pass back to Owen in case.
He didn't want to piss him off.
Yeah, exactly. He'd go out of his way. He'd go back and beat the goalkeeper again just so he could pass back to Owen to have a shot rather than take on the goal himself.
Because he said that the other day. Owen did say that I liked playing with Emil Heskey because he was so unselfish and it gave me more opportunity to score goals.
And it's true, and that's why that's why we bought him in the first place. It was because he asked us to. He asked for Heskey, and that was why he arrived. And Fowler, he didn't like playing alongside Fowler because he didn't pass the ball when he had a chance. He'd score instead. And he didn't like it. So he kept saying he didn't want to play alongside him to Houllier. And in the end, Houlier's left with a problem because Fowler's coming in and saying to him, why aren't you picking me? And getting all shitty because he's being left on the sidelines. When they have played together, he's been, the pair actually did really well together. So I don't understand why Owen complained. But there you go. Owen didn't like it. So eventually Jed thought, well, what do? I can't keep both of them happy. One of them's got to go. And he chose the wrong one. So they got rid of Fowler, and that's enough for me to hate Owen on its own because he got made us get rid of Fowler.
But let's put it into a little bit of context here. Fowler did have some real injury problems around that time.
Yeah, but so I can understand why Houllier made the decision he did, even though it was the wrong one.
Okay.
But you've got given everything you want. Rafa Benitez comes in, he says to you, "I want," he said he wants to go, wants to leave the club, even though they've given him everything he wants. No, I want to leave the club. Rafa comes in, pretty much on bended knee, begs him to stay, and he says, puts the middle finger up basically, and says, "No, I'm going."
That's
walked out on Rafa. No matter, it didn't matter what Rafa did, he was not going to stay.
That was another point I was going to make. That another reason why Liverpool fans have a grudge against him is because he ran down his contract near enough and went for £8 million.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. I'll either go for free next season, but I'm not staying.
So what were the circumstances there? Is that what he actually said?
Yeah, he wouldn't have stayed. He wouldn't have signed a new contract. He refused point blank. He wanted to go. He was just asking to be allowed to move.
What is it, a money thing, or was it he wanted
glory? Oh, yeah, money. He'll say it was for the glory, but Real Madrid at the time, they weren't about it wasn't that. It was about money.
They say that he signed for Man United, and I got to be honest, that really doesn't.
Well, no, because you got to remember before that, he came back to England. He was coming back to England, and he practically.
Yeah, I want to get to that.
He missed out. Yeah. He misses out this. From what I've read, he fails to mention. He keeps mentioning. Well, because Man United was ages afterwards. That's why I thought we wouldn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, let's get that, because I want to get to that, because there's that makes very, very interesting. I want to get your point on that, because that makes very interesting listening. Again, he signed for Man United, but I mean, listen, there is no loyalty to football, really, is there? Is there, Tristan?
To be honest, I didn't care by that point. Who cares? Like I said, I didn't like him when he played for us. From when I found out what he was like, I didn't like him. The way he treated the youth players, I didn't like him. And then when he got rid of Fowler, when he made us get rid of Fowler, basically, that was it for me. I hated him for that, because Fowler was the best player we'd ever had, in my opinion. At that time, I mean, the best player we had. He's the best player seen in the flesh, and he was just unreal. It's a whole different level. And Owen he was struggling with his hamstrings. You got to remember, Owen wasn't. This isn't the peak Owen we're talking. He had a few injury problems as well.
Yeah.
He peaked at about 18 or 19. Let's remember.
Absolutely.
And I used to watch. I used to be there every week. As season ticket. But it wasn't actually mine. It was my uncle's. But as he was working as a match day entertainer, he never had to go. He never had to use his ticket. So I got to use his season ticket all the time. So I'm there watching.
Let's not digress.
Yeah, because we don't do that. So so I'm there every week, and I'm watching it, and I thought Owen was wasteful. I don't know why people think he was a great striker. I think it was Glenn Hoddle who said he was not a natural goal scorer, and I agreed with him, because he wasn't. He'd need 8 or 9 chances to score a goal, and everything in that team was set up around getting the ball to Michael Owen to score. Everything. So to be 9, if there was 10 chances made in a game, you could guarantee 9 of them would have fallen at the feet of Owen, and he'd score maybe 1 if you're lucky. I think that, to me, is not a good striker. A clinical striker. They were good chances as well. You're not talking about, from the, the halfway line having to hit it. You're talking about penalty box.
10 yards out, yeah.
And
8 yards out.
6-yard box, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Talking about proper chances. Talking clear-cut chances. And he's messing them up constantly. And I couldn't understand this big love for him. As a youth player, I could see that the potential was frightening. But when came to when it came to 20, 22, he was going backwards as a player, not forwards. Yeah,
he was prolific in his youth at Liverpool.
But that's because he was blisteringly fast. But as he got, he kept picking up hamstring injuries, and he'd only have a few weeks out. But you could see it affected him every time. And he didn't improve after the player who emerged on the street, when he was 17 and that player was
Yeah.
about as good as he got, really. He never really grew on, pushed on at all. He got more experienced and was better in certain ways, but he'd lost he lost that pace, and it was gradually just went away from him.
Didn't have him down as a bully, I must admit. That's
nasty.
That's shocking, to be honest with you.
To be honest, a lot of players in those days they were horrible to the youth players as a rule anyway, because that was how it was. People used to pick on them, play pranks on them and stuff. Yeah, it was supposed to make them tougher.
Toughen them up, yeah.
But but there's certain things you don't do. These kids haven't got any money. And, they're not going to make it, they might never make it in the game to make any serious money. But he made sure he took it off them. Like I said, he was very money-orientated. Everything in his thing. And I didn't like the fact that his first love was, he wasn't really that interested in football. He would miss training to go and play with his horses.
Yeah. For me, my big gripe against him, I must admit, was his he chose country over club every time. That was my big issue with him, and which it didn't sit right with me at all.
No, I don't like that, but some people do. I wouldn't mind so much, but the lad's he's not even properly English, is he? He's Welsh.
All right, so.
Let's be honest here. He's not, is he?
He's from Chester, isn't he?
But he lived in Wales all his life.
Did he?
Yeah, he lives in Haywardon. Like I said, he's a neighbour. He's lived there all his life. You know what I mean? He was born in Chester and that, but he's never really lived there. He was always in Wales, North Wales.
But fair enough. You won't. I mean, who would you rather represent, Wales or England?
Well, exactly. It's not like. But what I'm saying is, it's not like country means that much to him. It's just the glory, isn't it?
It was a glory, yeah. So after a decentish season at Madrid,
I remember, you've got to. Have you seen the video of him in Dubai doing the helicopter? The video where he narrates it. The helicopter tour in Dubai. When we finish, the first thing you got to do is go and look that up. It is hilarious, honestly.
All right,
he's got so much personality showing through. As you can imagine.
Oozes out of every orifice.
It's just, it's quality. It really is. It's
He has to be. Of all the shitty pundits on TV, I think he is probably worse. He's so monotone, and it's like there's no enthusiasm, there's no kind of love, there's no passion.
Well, like I said, but if you put him on a horse racing commentary, he'd soon liven up a bit.
He actually rides, doesn't he? He's a jockey as well. I mean, fair play to him. You got your outside interests and everything. I'm all for that. But anyway, so
but
after a decent.
No, go on. Sorry, just go on.
It's only my third time. Anyway, go on.
No, you carry on. You carry on for once, because I would have only digressed. No, I was going to digress. Yeah. So you keep going.
No. Trying to rein you in here. See, that was my horse racing
metaphor
thing there. Yeah, just it.
Yeah,
just what I did there. Yeah,
very good.
Reference. Yeah. Anyway, so after a decentish season in Madrid, where he scored 16 goals in 45 games, he comes back to England. Now, what I wanted to ask you, he wanted to come back to Liverpool so badly, right? But he said in his book, and I'm quoting him, Liverpool couldn't match Newcastle's offer. Now, did we actually put in a bid? And because he said Liverpool couldn't match Newcastle's offer. That's ambiguous. That to me can mean we didn't put in a bid, or we did put in a bid, but it wasn't as good as Newcastle.
He asked Rafa if he could come back, and Rafa told him to F off. That's in not so many words, obviously, because Rafa's a lot more polite than that. But he said, you wanted to go, we don't need you now.
So it wasn't even an offer or a bid or any kind of...
No, Rafa Benitez was adamant that he did not want him back under any circumstances.
Wow.
Owen was the thing is, you've got to remember as well that like Liverpool were never going to match his wages. Not in that time.
£120,000 a week he was on. When Newcastle gave him £120,000 a week, right? Listen to this. In 2005, nearly 15 years ago, right? Literally. And they gave him a house with full staff.
And allowed him to helicopter into training every day. So the house was there, but he never stayed there except for during match, for match days. He used to helicopter back and forth every single day.
That's insane, isn't it? Now, the rest of the quote.
Stupidity.
Liverpool couldn't match Newcastle's offer. From a career perspective, there was no doubt in my mind that a move to the northeast was a downward step. This, I should say, was not a reflection on Newcastle United specifically. I would have found a reason not to sign with any club that wasn't Liverpool.
Yeah. All right, then. He's just trying to... Because now he's working as for the life of me, I'll never understand why. But for some reason, Liverpool have employed him as an ambassador for the club. And he knows that most Liverpool fans don't like him, to be frank. Just don't. And he's trying to ingratiate himself.
That? Why don't they like him? I just don't.
I've listed a number of reasons.
No.
And leaving, getting Fowler out, joining Man United. I mean, what more does he need to do?
Yeah, but people in like Malaysia or Thailand or I don't know Australia, they love him.
Yeah, because
but why
they don't know that?
So, yeah.
If they knew what he was like, they'd hate him too. I mean, he'd skip training because he'd feign injury to skip training, as he admitted at Newcastle. He hasn't admitted it at Liverpool, but I'm telling you now, like I said, he'd be seen wandering around perfectly fine with not a limp, no cast, nothing on his supposed injuries. And yet he wasn't at training or matches.
But that says more about Moores and Parry, etc., who were the loonies running the asylum at the time, than it does about Owen. Because you're going to try it as an employee. You're going to ring in sick. You're going to try it. It needs to be a disciplined managership.
Would you? Because I wouldn't. If I was a footballer, I wouldn't miss a game. Why would you?
No. You wouldn't get Ronaldo doing something like.
Yeah, can you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo missing? I mean, Messi, how many games a season does he miss?
Yeah, Suarez.
I mean, they have to force them off. That's why they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, Pele, you never heard of him feigning injury. Christ, they had to take him off for his own safety at one point during the '66 World Cup, and he would have stayed on.
Yeah, I get that totally.
Because he went off crying when my uncle with his arm round him. Is in there. If you ever watch the footage, it's my Uncle Billy, who's the young boy that puts the blanket round him, and that the young St. John's ambulance man boy. Sorry.
No way. What?
Yeah, it's my Uncle Billy.
Wow.
And they both walk off crying. So if you ever see the film, I think it's Goal, isn't it called? The one of the '66 World Cup.
Oh, the documentary.
Yeah. I've started to see that. Because he was there to watch, he was there. It was like a big occasion for him, and he's got to put this thing around Pele, and Pele bursts into tears, and he just starts crying with him. I don't think he knows why.
Your uncle's so overcome by the moment.
Yeah, just burst into tears as well. He couldn't help it. He was only a young boy at the time, a young lad. I think
you've never told me that. That is incredible.
I've had to sit through that film quite a few times, as you can imagine, because it was, a lot of the games were at Anfield and Goodison.
Yeah.
So,
one of my ex-girlfriends slept with Pele. That's my claim to fame. But anyway, that's another story.
Was that why he had to get by? She killed it for him, did she?
Yeah, that's so funny.
No wonder he suffered from impotence after he probably seen who she was with before, was it? Thing is,
Mate,
how
we
old
can make.
must you be to have slept with a woman who slept with Pele? Because he's like
Or,
95.
he slept with her when she was really young.
No, I'm
Put it in
thinking
the
it's probably
context.
more likely that because
Put
you
it in the
like 'em
context.
old.
All right, mate. Let's get back to Michael Owen.
Did she have a
He
white
actually had
stick when you met her?
and a Labrador.
Yeah.
Listen, mate.
Did it have a special yellow coat on it?
Back to Michael Owen. He
Who?
actually had a clause in his 2-year Newcastle contract. Listen to this, which allowed him to leave for Liverpool at the end of every season. How insane is that? This is lunacy, man, from
Well,
like Freddie Shepherd.
do you
I
think
mean,
so?
why would
He
you?
knew they weren't interested and would never going to sign him back. I mean,
But
Rafa's
why
not going
would
to get.
you?
Rafa wasn't going to get the sack. He won the Champions League in Istanbul. He was
Right.
never going to get the sack after that, was he? And then West Ham, remember, we won the FA Cup following season, wasn't it?
Right.
2006, yeah, when Gerrard scored the screamer. Was it?
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, memory's going, as you know. Yeah, so
In the
anyway.
last minute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the last minute.
So,
Yeah.
you're not going to sack Rafa at this point. So, Rafa doesn't want Michael Owen back under any circumstance. So if you're Freddie Shepherd, you feel pretty safe putting that condition in. Oh, yeah, of course you can go if Liverpool call, lad. Of course you can, son. No, that's fine. We'll even make it so they can take you on a free if you like, because you knew full well it's not going to happen. You know, even if Michael Owen had paid money out of his own pocket to make it happen, Rafa wouldn't have had him back.
Why did he want to go? I mean, again, it might be a stupid question, but why did he want to go back to Liverpool so badly?
Because at Liverpool he was treated well. Like I said, they did everything for him. And he was, before he left, the fans did love him. Because like most of them didn't know what he was like behind the scenes. A few of his locals knew what he was like, or had been in had been at training sessions and seen the dude, or the ones that knew him as a person, like, because he is a bit of a knob. Let's be honest. Well, you see what he's like on screen. He's not exactly Mr. Personality, and his sister was. We won't mention Beckham though, and his sister though. Shall we? We'll forget that.
No, well, let's not go into that.
Let's miss that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was just a bit of a knob. So, but Liverpool fans before he left loved him. So he probably thought he'd go back, he'll be a hero again. He loves the hero worship.
The idolization, yeah. He also said that Shearer was telling people that he blamed Owen for Newcastle's relegation. Owen said of Shearer, he was brought in at St James's Park as the saviour, the local boy. It could have been a great story, but he failed. Newcastle were relegated. Perhaps rather than examine his own shortcomings, it was easier to blame Michael Owen.
I can see both sides.
I never knew that they didn't like each other. That was all news to me until last week.
Only when from this point on, they were friends before this
happened.
Yeah,
they were fast friends.
Until Shearer became manager, they were friends. Then Shearer had to deal with him as a player. Funnily enough, they didn't like each other afterwards. It's quite a common theme in Michael Owen's history, actually, is that managers don't like him. Personally, afterwards, whatever they say in public, like obviously, because like Rafa's too nice to say anything publicly, but yeah, it is quite a running theme.
But the Shearer had 8 games that season, I think, to keep him up. He lost 5, drew 1, and won 1. So he had the time and the opportunity to keep Newcastle up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can see both sides of this argument because, like, they both were crap. They both failed Newcastle miserably. It's as simple as that. They both let Newcastle down.
I think Shearer's gripe was that he took 22 million out of the club.
Yeah,
and he feigned injury, and he was just worried about his next contract because he was obviously going to go on a free. So he's worried about
Yeah,
Owen was more bothered about his next contract and money rather than helping Newcastle stave off
yeah, exactly.
relegation.
Exactly, and Shearer's right about that. That's what I'm saying. I see both sides. Shearer is 100% right that Owen failed the club, miserably failed it. But, on the other hand, Owen's right that Shearer's got to look at himself, that he was the manager. He's the one that picks the players in the team, you know what I mean, and sets up the tactics and formation. He should have, if he couldn't
Yeah.
get Owen to perform, then, well, deal with it. Get on with it. It's your job to deal with the problems. Manage it. That's what you're there for. And he wasn't a good manager. He's another one that's a bit money orientated. That's why he never got another management job, not because of lack of opportunity, but because he always asked too much. Because he nearly got he nearly got the Cardiff City job, but then he asked for a huge wage, and they were just like, "No, that's too much."
And you don't lower your demands then if you want the job?
Shearer thought he was worth it. So, no, he
And
didn't. Wouldn't change. Doesn't bend. Instead, he goes and works on TV, so what's he care?
so in Michael Owen, Liverpool legend, yay or nay?
No.
Really? No, he's not a Liverpool legend
Not
in your
even
eyes.
close.
But
Legends
not from
don't,
I'm not
legends don't spit on the club.
What constitutes a legend in your opinion?
Well, they've got to have acted correctly in the way they, the way they. I fully understand players have to come and go. I've got no problem with that, but they have to act correctly in all them circumstances. You've got to treat the club with respect and never badmouth it and stuff like that. He never treated the club with respect, even when he was a kid. So, when he first joined, and he was always disrespectful. He's never changed. It was always about Michael Owen, everything. And to me, that's not a legend. A legend's someone who puts the club. Kenny Dalglish, that's the legend when you're talking about Liverpool. That's who you've got to compare him to. You've got to compare all people to that. That's what they're aiming at. Okay, nobody's going to reach it. Nobody else is going to reach it, but that's where they should be aiming at that kind of personality, that kind of attitude towards the club and that.
Yeah, but people like Kennedy, is it Alan or Ray Kennedy? I don't know if he does a hospitality at the club now. Fairclough. They're legends.
Alan Kennedy's still there. Ray Kennedy's the one that died. He had multiple sclerosis?
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, it's because he faded early.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
Unfortunately, yeah.
The Arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yes, mate. Yeah. Yeah, like Fairclough. These people are still legends. Maybe actually they're European Cup winners. What am I talking about? But so they're obviously legends. But there's you don't necessarily have to be like for me, Fairclough is a legend. He really is a legend. But again, he respects the club, and he
even though he left and he was only really a super sub and that.
Super sub, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United. He's a legend of the club as a player.
Yeah.
As a manager, he's not, obviously. But as a player, you can't argue that he's a legend of the club, even though, well, he wasn't even first choice. But that doesn't make him not less of a legend. It doesn't matter. It's not about being the best player. There's a difference between great players and legends, in my opinion.
Okay, so take away your personal grievances against Michael Owen. As a Liverpool Football Club player, legend or not a legend?
I can't give him legendary status, even though, 2001 Cup final, he did pretty much win it single-handed. But then if we hadn't had him in the team and we'd had a striker who actually played for the team and put some effort in, chase him back and stuff like that, you know what I mean? If you had an Ian Rush there instead, would we have been in the same position where we needed him to rescue us, if you get what I mean?
158 goals in 297 appearances.
Yeah, but he was missing 9 chances a game, like I said. I mean, I just found him... If he hadn't played for England and been, one of these England's heroes and on every bloody advert and all that, I don't think he'd have been as massively rated as he is. He was, don't get me wrong, a very good player, on the verge of greatness, but he never made it. And that's his own fault because he'd skipped training, like I said. He never put in the effort. He didn't work hard enough on the pitch. He was not really interested in working hard for the team at all. So, no, I can't give him legend status.
Do you think if it wasn't for Emil Heskey, he wouldn't have been half the player he was, or scored half the goals he scored?
It certainly wouldn't have been as... Yeah, he certainly wouldn't have been anything like as prolific without Heskey.
Right.
He really did bring the best out of him because he just handed the ball to him on a plate in the 6-yard box, time and time again. He must have been a brilliant striker to play alongside. A bit like playing alongside Firmino now. He's just like... He'd never overshadow you. He's perfect for Owen.
I always thought Emil Heskey was pretty underrated, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he was too nice. Didn't have that killer instinct. Yeah, he was just too nice.
Yeah.
Whereas Owen was a shit, so... And it was all about... This is the problem. This is why I can't call him a legend, because it was all about Owen.
Yeah, you can't help but have those personal thoughts just seep into the football side of things. I get that.
Yeah, because everything about him, everything he played, it was all about him. He wanted to play. He didn't win. He didn't want to win for Liverpool. He didn't want to score goals for Liverpool. He wanted to score goals for Michael Owen. It reminds me, when you see Ronaldo throwing a strop after Real Madrid used to score and it hadn't gone to his feet to score, and he'd throw us, be sulking. That's what Owen was like. But he would he wouldn't forget it once he's off the pitch and be great because we won, be happy afterwards like Ronaldo was, no matter what people think. He's just disappointed he didn't score. But after the game, he's happy that the team won, even if he didn't score. Owen wasn't. He was only happy when he was the glory, when he got the glory. That was it for him. Nothing else mattered.
So he just wanted to cement his legacy.
Yeah, that's all he's ever interested in. It was always about what was best for Owen. I mean, you don't have a contract. You don't have a contract where you got a helicopter ride backwards and forwards. I mean, he didn't have to leave Madrid. He could have stayed there for another season.
You're right. You're right, because Perez said to him, "We've had a £16 million offer from Newcastle, and we're happy to keep you, or you can leave." And he said, "Liverpool." He said, "I want to go to Liverpool," and they said, "Well, they haven't put in an offer."
Yeah, exactly. So why not just stay at Real Madrid? I'll tell you why. Because he got a cut of the transfer fee.
Right. Yeah. The 10% or whatever it was.
5%, isn't it?
Is it 5%? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who was playing with him at the time? It was Beckham, Fabinho, not Fabinho.
How old is he?
Robinho, wasn't it? Robinho?
Yeah, no, Robinho.
Yeah.
Was he then? I can't remember, to be honest.
Beckham was there, Figo was there, Zidane was.
I don't really remember, to be honest. I took no notice. I've never had an interest in Real Madrid. I don't understand why people love them. They've always been, to me, they've just been the Franco team, and General Franco's just not someone I identify with or want to identify with.
There you go again with your political affiliation.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that it's like some of these Eastern European teams, they used to have the secret police backing, so they'd win because the other teams were afraid of them, and things like that, or they get they just literally take the players off them because the team, was it Honved that Puskás played for? The reason why they had virtually the entire Magical Magyars played for them was because they were, they were like the army team or something, and they just literally take the other players. Teams like that, I just find a bit distasteful when they've got an unfair advantage.
Yeah, but
rather
don't you
than
see that was then, this is now? That's
yeah, but
so
even
far
so,
removed.
even like well, Franco was still around in the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean? And when Madrid was still getting government handouts to when their training ground was decided that it was too small, they wanted a new training
Right.
ground with better facilities. It was the government that
Right.
stepped in and bought their old one for something like 10 times value. And then gave
Yeah,
them a bigger and better one outside the city on massive amount, on a much bigger area of land as part of the deal. On top of the paying over the odds anyway, just happened the amount just happened to cover their debts as well. Just convenient, isn't it? It's amazing how it works out. Not that the government were funding them or anything, obviously.
we should have got the Madrid council to buy Berry.
No, because they only do that when it's Real Madrid. Should have got the Berry Council to step in. But, I mean, Steve Dale, what an ass. That's it, and it is all Steve Dale. He's caused that.
I don't understand how these kind of autocrats, I mean, these real nefarious owners can actually get away with doing what they do. Like the guy at Blackpool as well.
Yeah, well, the problem is they have this fit and proper person test, but they don't apply it. They don't actually check them. I mean, Steve Dale didn't have the money when he bought it to keep it running. Why was he allowed to buy it then? I know the club was in trouble and they needed someone to buy it and take on the debt. But if he doesn't have the money, you can't allow him to buy it. They have to look elsewhere, surely.
Mate, there's one word that just explains everything. Corruption.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's funny. He's going to get himself a massive payout, isn't he, if they get back in the league? Because the money they owe, part of it's to him now.
Ah, I see what I mean. Is that likely to happen? They're going to be bought back?
Well, they're looking at League Two, aren't they? Because they've got a sale now. They're looking at putting it in. They can keep going. They're looking at putting them in League Two. I don't understand. But why don't they just put them back in League One? What's the point? Why not just put them back in League One where they were and just have them catch up their games? I don't understand this.
What's happened to their players? Have they found other clubs or?
Well, a lot of them have left. Yeah, a lot of them have moved on. But they scrapped their youth academy and everything. Just literally closed it down overnight. The funniest thing is the NHS are offering the fans free counselling. You're thinking, for God's sake, I mean, that's just going too far.
Shouldn't they be spending that money on operations or something like that?
Exactly. I think there's far more important things the NHS need to worry about than a few fans losing a football team.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith. We can't give you your back operation today because that money's gone towards counselling somebody from Bury.
Yeah, there's no bed for you today, Mr. Jones. I'm afraid because we've had to sell it to pay for the counselling. Because counsellors aren't cheap, are they? Let's be honest.
Mate, that is so funny. I'm unbelievable. Right, mate. We've got so I think that's we got the next one is the Liverpool Newcastle podcast.
Yeah, build up. Yeah, is it? Yeah, it'd be a review, won't it? Not a preview because we haven't previewed it.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you want to do a quick preview now?
I could do if you want. Like, it's up to you. I'm not. It's sticking on the end if you want while we're here.
What's the date today? It's the 9th, right?
Well, it depends where you are in the world. Because here it's the 10th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it will be the Liverpool Newcastle review. Do you want to do a little quickie?
Yeah, we could
a quick preview.
While we're here, come on.
Yeah. Why not?
Not quite. It's not like we've talked about anything to do with VAR anyway, even though we said it was a VAR podcast. So we may as well completely roughshod over it. And
mate, I don't think people would want to listen to a 2-hour podcast about VAR.
I don't think people want to listen to a 2-hour podcast by us, full stop. But they all just found, none of them actually listen to it. I reckon they just say they do.
I wonder how many people actually listen to these podcasts.
I should think it's probably. Do your parents listen to it as well? Because mine don't. That might be it. If we could get the parents to listen, we might double the viewers.
Mate, I can guarantee you my parents don't because they don't understand English. So that'd be a great. That's a great reason not to listen to it.
That's all right. Do either of us speak English?
Yeah, exactly. Do it. Make a great point. So, live at the top of the league, going great guns, buoyant, full flow, loving life at the moment as a Liverpool fan.
Well,
and we got Newcastle.
I'd been loving it even more if we hadn't had to have an international break. I mean, what's the point in that at this point in the season?
To play international football, I thought it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, but I mean, why not do it later in the season or just have it before the season starts? This keep messing about like just as you get going and you have to stop and start again. It's ridiculous.
Well, there was the African nations as well, so that didn't help. So they listen. I don't think they intentionally try and mess.
I think
the footballing calendar.
I think they do, because I can't see any other reason for the way they do it. It's just It's just embarrassingly inept, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong, mate. I don't even watch. To be honest with you, I don't even watch international football.
No,
I don't watch. And if I do watch a big competition, I only watch it around the last 16. That's when I start watching it. So international.
I used to watch them all, but like the last few years, I just see international football as a chance to have a break and refresh, ready for the for the next lot of games. But that's why this one so bugs me, because it's so soon. I don't need a break. I'm just getting into the football. You know what I mean? Just getting into the season. Keep it going.
The only reason I welcome this international break is because it gives Naby Keita and Alisson Becker 2 weeks to get fitter.
I'm sure we can safely say that all the people that will listen to this podcast will be thinking, we were glad there was an international break so we could get this VAR podcast that we've all been waiting for. Actually, no, I don't think anybody's probably going to say that, are they?
Nah, I don't think so, mate. To be honest, let's face it.
Nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah, listen, mate. It's our duty to be the.
Unless the dog's in the room with you, anyway, nobody's going to listen to this.
Mate, he's in his kennel. He's just been bathed, and he's good. He's behaving well today. What was I going to say to you? Yeah, so we got. For me, international football is just so. We always get injured. We always get injuries.
Go back. Did you just say your dog's got a kennel?
No, he's actually got a big room to himself. I call it a kennel because I don't want to sound. Because I know you're going to destroy me.
Oh God, no!
Why do you hate
with
me?
You and your mates? You and your mates. It's just and even your dog's got its own room. I mean, come on,
mate! Don't hate.
How the other half live? How the other half live? Paris bloody Hilton.
I'm not going to feel guilty for having a life.
Yeah, but you get a life by stealing it from others. That's the problem.
Oh, right, and what have I stolen from you, Kristen?
My will to live by doing these podcasts with me. I can't believe. I bet you even have. I bet your dog is only like 2 foot. Just like one of those tiny little ones that you carry in your handbag, isn't it?
No, yeah.
Sorry, no, you have a man bag, don't you?
A Louis Vuitton one.
No, please.
He's cool. He's on grain. He's on raw.
I thought you were going to say Twitter, then.
He's on Twitter.
Yeah, he's got his own Twitter or Instagram.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's a point.
And the batteries in my headphone are dying right now. So if I suddenly can't hear you, thankfully.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'll just change it over quick. But anyway, carry on talking. I just can't hear you. That's all. Oh, which is,
so we were.
Believe me, I'm not moaning about not being able to hear
you. Liverpool v Newcastle.
You carry on.
I am carrying on.
I don't even know if you're talking.
Can't you hear me? Tristan?
Did you carry on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Oh, good. All
Yeah.
right.
I just had to change the battery.
Oh, okay, cool. So, when are we playing? On the 14th? No, 21st.
What? Which? Sorry, I've forgotten where we were up to. I got so.
When are we playing Newcastle?
Just what's this weekend, isn't it?
This weekend.
Yeah, it's this weekend. Just trying to. Because we've got the Champions League as well soon,
Yes,
haven't we?
it is. Yeah, brilliant. I thought it was another week without a game.
No, it's
Another
this
weekend
weekend.
without a game.
This
Oh,
weekend.
fantastic. Oh, I'm
That's why I
loving
thought.
life.
That's why we were doing this. Jeez, this is really hard work. Because that was why we were doing the preview now. See, sorry, I had to say it slowly because you wouldn't understand.
Oh, mate, yeah.
See, Ronaldo
That
had a
is
good
brilliant.
international period, so he should be
Oh,
coming back.
mate, I don't think he'll play. He's played 2 games, hasn't he?
2 games, 2 goals.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play on. I mean, he'll be knackered.
I thought so. He should be fit. He's fit as a butcher's dog, isn't he?
Mate, he is coming on leaps and bounds. He has just turned into a superstar, mate. I love him. So team for Saturday?
Oh God, I'd want to see who's fit, but basically you want to keep it as close to what you had before. Oh God,
mate. To be fair, they've had Salah and Mane will be. They didn't go away because both of those countries didn't have games. So because of the AFCON, they gave the African nations time off. So Bobby's played a game or 2 for Brazil, hasn't he? So I think maybe Origi might get a look in.
Yeah, we're at home as well, so
exactly. Yeah, so it's really it's the Robertson took some stick for Scotland. They reckon that he doesn't play as well for Scotland as he does Liverpool.
Well,
then again, he's got 10 other players.
I was going to say,
around him.
You know, when you're playing with crap, what do you expect? He's playing with a pub team.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, Steve Clarke's not exactly a great manager, is he? Let's be honest.
He's a good defensive coach under Kenny.
Yeah, but he can't actually. He's got no tactical idea. His tactical idea is just stifling a game. He makes Gerard Houllier look like an exciting, all-out attack manager.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned Houllier. Right? What are your thoughts about his managership at Liverpool?
Because he was previewing the Newcastle game still.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
is he coming back? Yeah. Is he taking over at Newcastle? They already given up on on Steve Bruce? No, go up. No. Well, I liked Houllier at first, but then you find out a few things, and at least he did try at one point. He did try and change the style and make it more expansive. You know, after we had that good run in 2001 and that, he tried the following season, but it was a disaster. You know, and he had his heart, not the one when he had his heart, the one afterwards. He came back and it just seemed like his bottle went partway through the season, you know, when it just wasn't going as well. But the team were playing really good football, and it was you could see signs that it was happening, but his bottle went and he gave up on it and went back to being defensive, and that was when he was gone. Basically, that was it. It was never going to work. If he just stood by it, I think he might have done, I think we'd have been all right. But he just didn't have the balls to stand by it. I think his heart just, after that heart problem, he just didn't seem to have the same...
his heart weren't in it.
No, I didn't. I nearly said that because but no, it wasn't what I mean. I mean, he didn't have the same...
enthusiasm,
no, he still loved it, but I mean, he didn't have that same. He tried to. What's the word? Delegate more, whereas before he was a complete dictator. You know what I mean? Before that, and then afterwards, he started. He was a complete. He couldn't manage it all.
That's right.
He couldn't keep on top of everything, so he started delegating, and that was when it just didn't work for him. It's not his. It doesn't suit him.
Yeah, because Ian St. John said he was a complete autocrat,
That's the
and he
word I was
just
looking
like,
for. Yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah,
very
yeah,
much
yeah,
so. I mean, he did some
yeah.
things that really did not go down well, like making all the staff come in on Christmas Day to make his, to give him a Christmas dinner for his family and stuff.
Do what?
Honestly, Fowler even mentioned it in his autobiography, but I know for a fact that that is 100% true because obviously my Auntie May was one of them that had to go in there and help. He had a load of the, like the kitchen staff and some of the other staff in
Right.
to do Christmas dinner for his family when in the first year he took over that Christmas.
Why didn't his own family make their own dinner?
Or
Yeah.
why didn't they go to a restaurant? I mean, he's a rich man. He's got no shortage of money. He was being paid bloody well. Well, why not just book a restaurant like most people would? And normally, because the staff always had Christmas Day off. Obviously, everyone, because it's the only day they don't play football.
I am incredulous at that. Honestly, that's horrible. That's a really nasty thing to do to people.
Well, exactly, and that was one of the reasons why Owen was chosen over Fowler as well. That was one of the other things, because Fowler was the one that criticised him about that. He wasn't happy with that. He didn't think that was right. And Fowler being Fowler, he says things. Whereas Owen just doesn't give a shit, does he? Let's be honest.
What decent human being wouldn't call you out on that?
Well, exactly, I mean, it's not right, is it? Getting people in. There's people who are choosing to work Christmas Day, but every other year they'd always had Christmas Day off, but not that year. I don't even understand why he did it. I mean, it makes no sense. He could have easily gone to a restaurant. I don't
have thought. See, I'm just you wouldn't hear Klopp saying doing things like that. That's human decency. Just have some respect for your fellow man.
I can't imagine any of them. I can't imagine many of the managers doing it. It's just not something you'd. And for all we'd criticise Sam Allardyce, I can't imagine him getting the staff in on Christmas Day. Their one chance of a day off over the Christmas period when you got to remember it's the busiest time for the football team. It's the one chance of a day off.
I believe you, and obviously if it was in his Fowler's autobiography,
that's just backing up what I was told by my Auntie May. So rather than
exactly,
saying,
but I mean, no,
I've got somebody else rather than it just being my anecdote,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but how would you even broach that subject to your staff by saying, "Excuse me, I want you to come in on Christmas Day and cook Christmas dinner for me and my family." I don't even. How would you even?
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, but Houllier was single-minded. He didn't really care about people's feelings. I mean, he wasn't like Rafa. Rafa was single-minded and didn't really care about people's feelings in a lot of respects, but not in things like he had some. Okay, he was football was his main focus, but he knew that when football wasn't taking place, people could have time off and have a break. Houllier didn't see it like that,
Yeah, but Rafa had humanity. Rafa, you know how much he did for charity around Liverpool?
Oh, yeah, but that's more his wife, to be fair. But I was thinking of the Xabi Alonso incident where he couldn't understand why Xabi Alonso wanted to be at the birth of a child rather than at a game. Is what I was meaning is that he doesn't always quite get it, Rafa, because football's so much his life. He doesn't quite understand when somebody else puts their family first, for instance. But if there wasn't a game, he wouldn't have the staff in to do something like that. He'd be saying it's a chance for them to have a rest while I do, Christmas Day, he understands that's a day for family. You know what I mean?
I get it. I'm just trying to get this back to Liverpool Newcastle. I don't know how to do it though, because it's.
Well, that's why I was going on to Rafa, and that's why I was thinking about bringing Rafa in, because obviously the tie-in, because he was just sacked.
Yeah.
Well, not sacked, let go. Yeah. Didn't have his contract renewed. That's what I was trying to think of.
Well, he left before he was pushed, wasn't it? Really?
Well, no, because the thing is. They just couldn't agree on anything, him and Ashley, at all.
Well, they're poles apart, worlds apart.
I mean, the thing now is Ashley's telling everyone that Rafa didn't want Joe Linton, and that's why he left, and that's what it was all over.
Right.
That's not quite strictly speaking true from what I've heard about it. From Rafa's side, he wasn't. It wasn't that he didn't want Joe Linton. It's just that Mike Ashley wanted Joe Linton, so he said that's fine, but you put your money into it. You've only given me a small budget to play with. I don't want to use it on him when there's other players I need for my team.
That's what I heard as well. That Joelinton wasn't worth the money that they were paying for him, and he said he's worth half that.
Yeah, and so Ashley said, "Well, okay, then we'll put half in each." And he's saying, "But I don't. I'd rather save my budget for players I want."
It's a farce that a manager of Rafa's capabilities and his caliber is putting his begging bowl towards somebody like Ashley. I just think it's repulsive.
I just don't understand why Ashley didn't make sure to keep him when that keeps the fans on side. I don't understand his attitude. Why he's gonna? Sometimes it's like he deliberately just wants to stick the middle finger up to the fans. To go and get Steve Bruce, who's next Sunderland manager. I mean, that's just
you can't get a better middle. You can't get a better middle finger than that.
Exactly, and previously when what's his name, Alan Pardew was in charge,
and Kinnear.
Oh yeah,
Kinnear, remember?
Was that Ashley or was that previous to him? Thought that was Freddie Shepherd.
Oh, was it? Okay, gotcha. It was. You're right, Freddie Shepherd. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's the Pardew thing. He brought him in, sacked Houghton over the summer, brought in Pardew. Yeah. The fans hated him. But he refused. It didn't matter how bad a run of results Pardew got. He just refused to sack him because because the fans wanted him out. Was how it seemed. I think it's more because he owed money to Derek Lambius because he'd racked up a huge debt at Lambius's casino, and he wasn't actually being paid as such. He was only being paid a pittance of actual salary. The rest was going on paying off his debts to Lambius, who's one of the directors at Newcastle. Funnily enough, when that was paid, when his debt was met, he left. Funny that, isn't it?
That's one way of paying your debt back. Oh, that is hilarious.
And that's the same casino that he was in. There was the one Andy Carroll fell off the bar stool in, pissed, and injured his leg, and was still injured when we bought him.
Oh, let's not go into that debacle. Andy Carroll's Liverpool
You just thought it's a nice tie-in that, Newcastle, Liverpool. See, again.
So,
I'm thinking, I'm bringing in, I'm actually joining the two clubs together in the segueing it into the preview, sort of.
You're brilliant, you are.
I know, because he's back there as well, remember? See?
Love it.
See, I'm actually, keeping it on subject.
Mate, I tell you what, you should be presenting Sky Sports.
I should be a professional at this, shouldn't I? Someone should freaking pay me.
You should be on Monday Night Football with that big screen and everything.
Maybe I could take over from Richard Keys out there in Qatar, because they pay well, being sports, don't they?
I bet they do, yeah, mate. I bet he's on a pretty penny there.
Yeah, and he's
all
crap.
Right, mate.
And he's crap. Well, still crap. Oh. It's funny. Oh no, the best thing was the not the Community Shield, the other one, the Super Cup, when we played Chelsea, and obviously the women referee. They would. Yeah. It was hilarious watching them two trying not to say anything.
not trying to slip up or having any faux pas.
Yeah, not trying to be too, without saying anything too bad. But even then they said they tried to make out that they were just covering up. They didn't want to have any controversial decisions. The VAR was backing them because they were women. Because he didn't want to cause any controversy because they were women. They didn't want to make them look like they'd made a mistake. Was why VAR agreed with their decisions. Though probably because they didn't really get much wrong, did they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, mate, they're a bunch of melts too, aren't they?
Yeah, you're trying to be nice. Mate. That was funny though. That was well weird watching it for, I tell you.
I can imagine, mate. I can imagine.
So So have we actually previewed the game at all, Or did we just talk about Gerard Houllier
Sorry,
and
that
Rafa
that time.
Benitez stuff?
This time it was my fault. I asked about Houllier. So anyway, back to the game, mate. So
Yes, did we actually preview? Because I've lost track.
no, we haven't. We kind of nearly did. So let's make it 5 wins out of 5 before we get to
Hopefully.
Chelsea game away. I think it's they got a decent result. I mean, against Spurs away from home. I mean, hopefully will be a different proposition for them.
I'm going to refuse. I'm going to refuse. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say. I know I've got to. Sorry, I've got to digress again. Spurs. Do you not think they look like a team in trouble? They don't look anything like happy, do they?
No, they're not happy. They're not a team in trouble, though. There might be.
No,
I
don't mean trouble as in like they're going to get relegated. I don't mean that. I mean they don't look like a smooth. It looks like a team about to fall apart.
It looks like a team that is going to lose their manager at the end of the season. That's what it looks like to me, and a few of their players. And it looks like they're going to have to. The next decision they make about the manager they'll have to get it exactly right because they're going to be in free fall then. I mean, I don't care how much money. I mean. Yeah, I don't care how much money you're bringing in because of your new shiny new toy stadium. If you haven't got the right man at the helm. Or men at the helm, things are going to go south very quickly. Look at Man United.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got the top 3 most biggest clubs in the world, right? Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United. It's a joke. They should be. I mean, I think we've touched on this before, but really, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. It's not even funny. I mean, I feel.
Yeah, well, on the last Ask the Ed pod I did, somebody asked me which rubbish manager would you appoint and to which club and why, and I said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United because he'd stay because they keep him on longer because the fans love him.
Mate, you cannot, you can't really. I mean,
he's a terrible manager.
Mate, exactly. I mean, I'm not even being devil's advocate. The guy is. I mean, I think Paul Ince said the run of games that he won last season. He said most managers would be expected to win those games. They appointed him. I just don't understand who's calling the shots up there. I mean, that's the person that needs to be fired. Yeah. Who the hell?
Oh no! Give him a new contract on double money for life.
20-year contract. Yeah, exactly. But it's. I mean, we're so far ahead of the rest. I mean, Man City and Liverpool are so far ahead of the rest. I
thought you meant just Liverpool. I was going to say Man City might argue about that.
No, exactly. Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is that it's become an easier Premiership to win.
Chelsea. Chelsea haven't. I mean, Chelsea have got the potential to improve. Now they're actually using their loan players rather than just loaning them out all the time. Because that just made no sense. It was a terrible policy. I know they'll say they made money off it, but where's the evidence? They've not been investing as heavily in the team. They're not been performing as well on a consistent basis. They had a good run under Conte, but since then, that one good season, I mean, even then, they didn't really impress, did they? Let's be honest. When you watched them, they didn't steamroller teams, did they? They just ground out
when
wins.
They won the Premiership.
Yeah, they just ground out result after result.
But it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not saying. But what I'm saying is, you could see they clearly weren't the team they were before. Before they came up with it. Before this policy of the loaning out all these youth players came into force. And they need to start using them, even if they're not as good. It's the attitude. The John Terrys and that, they lost them. They didn't have them coming through, and without that, that impetus from them, that heart in the club, you're not going to be as good. It is, even if they're not as good a player, over the course of a season, they'll help you to better results because of their desire and heart. When other players, the fancy Dans, don't turn up. Yeah,
no, you're right. I mean, that Mount looks like a player. I like him a lot.
I like him as well.
I think he's got something about him. I think he'll be an England regular for a long time.
Yeah, he needs to drop deeper though and not play where he is. That'll
I
help
think he's
when
probably
Adoy or Pedro or Willian are fit, so they can play there instead.
exactly. And then Adoy's coming back from injury now. He's going to be fit soon enough.
Is he?
So,
I thought he wasn't fit till next year or for a while.
no,
yet.
I think he's in training.
Is he? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know Becker
And I think
but I didn't know he was.
Who? Sorry.
I know Alison Becker's back in training, but I didn't know Dingy was. Hudson
How
Adoy.
long
I
is
thought it was a while.
How long has Becker got back until he's back to fitness? Do you think?
It's impossible to tell. Like they kept saying, there's no way of knowing because nobody knows how quick the lad heals. It's one of those. If you've never had an injury like it, you don't know how long it takes you to recover from. Even when the average is 6 weeks. That's the average. But you have some players who'll take 10 weeks, and you have another player takes 4 weeks. You know, there's no real hard and fast rule with injuries because every person's different, and everybody has the body is a different organism for each of us. They have a different metabolic rate. They have everything happens differently.
So, I love it when you talk technical.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it like less technical. You know what I mean?
Are you trying to dumb it down for me?
Yeah, well, it's not just you. It's, the one person listening might not understand.
What, your mum?
Well, I'd say me mum, but I know me mum won't be listening. She won't bloody listen. That'd take effort. Show support. Show support for my career. No, not a chance. Not a chance.
Right, listen.
There's more chance of my dad listening, and he doesn't even like football.
Listen, I don't want to hear about your mummy issues. Let's just talk about the football, all right? Listen,
I don't have mummy issues. She's never been mummy. Mars. There was always another. There was always her best mate was my second mum and stuff like that. Like, so I had no problem with that.
Anyway, mate, I really don't care. So let's just move on.
I know that's why I'm carrying on talking about, just to annoy you.
I honestly think this Premiership is a weakened Premiership. It's not. I think, obviously, it's a foregone conclusion between us and City. I mean, it's the teams chasing us are not very good.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, that the Chelsea, Spurs and Arsenal and Man United are not as good as they were.
Right.
But those below that have improved. So the level of the Premier League has improved as an overall, because you're talking about just 4 sides.
I accept that. So what I'm saying
is
the
16 sides that have improved, I think it's it's strengthening. The likes of Huddersfield, let's be honest, they weren't really covering themselves with glory last season. The first season they did all right, but last season they were awful. And it's good to get rid of them. The likes of Brighton, no offence, that isn't a dig at Huddersfield as in, like, Huddersfield good to get rid of. I mean, because of how they played. They performed so badly and just rolled over constantly for teams. They lost their bite. I mean, it was embarrassing. But you've got to say, these teams now, the lower-end teams, have improved and moved up closer to the Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and it'll be a good battle for the top 4 places, purely because they'll push them. But I see what they definitely will be further behind.
But I agree with that totally.
But again, Liverpool and Man City have improved. So, is it weaker, or is it just that Liverpool and Man City have improved? The 4 behind haven't improved rather than got worse, because you can't really say. I mean, Arsenal haven't really got worse, have they?
No, but
they've improved their attack,
but
they've got but they're not. They're just not keeping up with Liverpool and City by the looks of it.
Yeah, but the thing is, my point is, you're right. Okay, the weaker teams are better. They've made it. They're getting more closer to the top 4, 6, whatever.
Yeah,
but
you could see Everton and Wolves pushing for a top 6 place this season, couldn't you?
But City and Liverpool are so far better than the rest that's why I feel that it's weakened, because.
Yeah, and that's my point. Is it just its perception rather than it actually has got weaker?
Reality,
is it just perception because they've got better? so much better that they've moved further ahead that it makes it feel like it's got weaker rather than it actually has. That was what I was saying.
Yeah, I don't doubt that it's our results against City that will dictate who wins the title.
I don't know, because City have already lost 2 points in a game that you wouldn't have expected them to.
Yeah, but if they beat us twice...
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is it's still not over till it's over, is what I'm saying. Even if we don't do well against them, there's still a chance they could throw away points someone else. And by the same token, even if we beat them twice and, have a 100% record, at any moment that could end.
I honestly think the only teams I see us dropping points against are Everton.
Famous last
City.
words. Famous last words. So Newcastle are going to beat us this weekend now. Well done. Thank you very much.
No, they're not.
Well done. You've just jinxed us, you bloody Jonah. Nice one. That's it. No point watching the rest of it. No point watching the game now on Saturday. So everyone on this list, both of you, don't bother watching the game. He's jinxed it.
I'm going to get death threats, aren't I?
He's killed there. You get them off me every week. What's your point?
More death threats.
Off other people, you mean?
From different people, apart from you. Yeah.
Well, you can't get them on Twitter and that. You haven't even got it, have you?
Mate, I haven't got time for Twitter.
You have. Oh, no, because you've got to do the cleaning now. Your maids have quit. See, you must be like Gerard Houllier.
I'm not, what?
You had them in clean. No, well, yeah. Old, anyway. But you must have had them in cleaning on Christmas Day or something. That's why they've quit.
No, she went and gone. She's moved to like another part of the country.
Because she wanted to get away from you.
No, she wants to be
told you those
sexual
advances were just unwelcome, mate. It's really something you need to think about in future.
I know, mate. I was fighting her off, mate.
In your trip.
Mate, so how insensitive is that?
But what you mean is the dog. The dog was licking you.
Oh, that's standard, mate.
I really don't know. So don't go there.
All right, mate. On that note, I think we should...
We haven't previewed the game yet. Oh, no, we have, because you've destroyed it. You've made sure they'll win, because you said they've got no chance. So that's it. They're going to beat us.
There you go.
You've killed it. There's no point previewing it. We know what... So how many are they going to beat us by is now the question.
Well, I
Jonah.
That, can I?
You Jonah. I can't believe you said that.
Oh, mate.
Right, you know how superstitious I am.
Oh, shut up.
You know what I'm going to be like now on the match day? I'm going to be performing so many rituals.
Oh, right, because if we win, it's going to be because you're rich now,
exactly.
Right,
because I got them all right, exactly right. And it counteracted your Jonarism.
It must be so difficult being you.
I tell you, it's a good job you fly and not go by boat anywhere, because you'd definitely be swallowed by a whale.
What the heck does that mean?
Jonah. That's where Jonah come. You know where Jonah come from? Because the ship sank and he got swallowed by a whale. Jonah and the whale.
Right.
Oh, my God. That's where Jonah comes, because he's bad luck, because the ship kept sinking. He was in. He sank the ship because he was on it. That's why it's bad luck, you know. It's a jinx, because when he got on a ship, it sank. That's what I'm saying. It's a good job you fly and don't go by ship anywhere.
Every day's a school day, Mr. Tristan.
Well, it's not difficult to school someone like you, to be fair. I mean, I got no education, and I still got better one than you. I didn't even go to school.
Listen, mate, it's not my fault your parents afford the bus fare.
Mate, I lived across the road from the school. I still didn't turn up. I still used to go off elsewhere, especially when the fair was in town 2 days a week, 2 days a year. You'd go, there's 2 days I'm definitely not going to school.
Mate, before this just turns into your life story, let's call it a day.
Yeah, because we've done Houllier, we've done Rafa, We've done Michael Owen. Well, we touched on Michael Owen, but we got digressed on that. We've done a little bit of Andy Carroll, Fowler,
VAR.
Heskey. We didn't really do VAR. We kind of messed that up badly, let's be honest. We made a mess of VAR. We were even worse than the VAR, let's be honest.
That's difficult to achieve as well.
Yeah, and that took some skill. I've got to say, I'm impressed with how badly we did the VAR bit.
Yay!
UFC.
Oh, we done Khabib, yeah.
But we haven't actually done any of the stuff we intended to do.
Well, at least we're consistent.
We haven't even We still haven't previewed the game. But I think it's time to call it on because there's just no point, is there? Let's be honest.
No.
We're useless. Yeah.
Well, what's this wee pale face? Listen,
that's true. It is just you. Let's be honest. You're the one that's supposed. You're the one that's supposed to be guiding us and the one that's keeping it on track and that.
Guys,
so
yeah,
the fault all does reside at you. So you're right. There's no need to take the we.
Always blame the ethnic.
Well, the cap fits.
All right, mate.
I would say good job we're not in Italy, else they'd be saying something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a story.
Can you believe what they did with Luca? I mean, the Inter fans. I'm not talking about the Cagliari fans. You kind of expect that in Italy, that they're just idiot racists. But the
letter from the Inter fan telling him it's a
sign of respect when they were making monkey noises at you.
It's a compliment.
On.
It's a compliment.
Oh yeah. So
Jesus.
So the next time you're called something, full well it's just a compliment. They like you.
Mate, on that note,
to be fair, you do call me a lot of names, so obviously it is you mean them complimentary.
No, mate, the names I call you aren't terms of endearment. Believe me.
A lot of them begin with C and end with T, I've noticed.
Yeah. It's very endearing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's useful.
Yeah. On that note, mate, see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. It will be Tuesday as well, Maito.
Exactly.
Is that why you choose to do it on a Tuesday? You've been waiting to... I bet you've had that planned since the first time. Waiting to drop that in.
You unknowingly did it as well.
Yeah, I bet you've been waiting for the chance to drop that in. You've had that written down on your piece of paper next to you all the time.
And that's the name of the podcast, this week's podcast.
See you next Tuesday.
Yes, you will.
It is.
Adios, mate. Take care.
Take care.